Hello everyone, and welcome to my Symposium presentation for the MALAT program. My name is Patricia Larose, and the title of my research project is Discovering Best Practices, Creating a Digital Learning Environment Orientation Course. To understand the context of my research and where I'm coming from, I'd invite you to learn a little bit about me. I have been involved in education for over 20 years. Currently, I have an administrative role. However, I have been an instructor face-to-face and online for many of those 20 years. One of the things that excites me about what I do as an online instructor is facilitate an online orientation course that prepares students for their online journey. This I do in conjunction with the continuing education department. So when I got involved in the MALAT program and was working on what my research project might be, I really wanted to know, does what I do actually help students in any way, help them to be successful? What is the best way to deliver this type of material to these students? And how can I help them to be successful going forward? Taking all that into consideration, this is the question that I would like to answer with this research project. How might an online orientation course to prepare students to use a digital learning environment be designed for adult learners in a post-secondary institution? To help me answer my overarching question, I arrived at these four sub-questions. What activities and structures are vital to the effective implementation of a digital learning environment online orientational course? What are effective design principles for digital learning environments? How might students' participation in a digital learning environment orientation course affect them in future online courses? And what factors might be considered in determining whether an online orientation to the digital learning environment course should be instructor-led versus self-directed? These are all very important facets of the overarching question, and I was hoping that my research would give me some awesome answers. So, given my history and the context of this research and my questions and sub-questions, what exactly is it that I wanted to know? What was my outcome for all of this? At the end of it all, I really want to come up with a set of best practices for creating an online orientation course that will help students understand how to use the technology required and what it means to be an online student. I want to do this for the students, but I also want to do it for the institutions and for the faculty and for those who help to design these types of courses. In preparing this research, I was guided by the following theoretical frameworks. The frameworks I chose for this study are cognitive constructivism and instructional design theory. Cognitive constructivism I chose because it's a scaffolding theory that says that students construct and scaffold their learning based on how they see and experience the world. An orientation course to me is very experiential. They're experiencing the technology and experiencing what it's like to be an online learner. That coupled with the instructional design theory, which focuses on real-world learning and student-centered materials, again, building on one another to provide the foundation. So when designing an online orientation course or program, scaffolding the information to maximize the cognitive skills and abilities to construct the meaning in the learning is the key. So I feel that these theories fit nicely with the subject of my research. So now that you understand the context of this study, the questions that I've posed, and the theoretical framework that I'm following, I want to talk to you a little bit about how I actually went about gathering all the data for this particular research. The research method used for this secondary research project is a systematic literature review. This is an excellent way to find all types of information on the given subject, both positive and negative. It's very rigorous and helps to use a coding system in order to disseminate the different types of information that I found. The parameters I chose for my research were peer-reviewed articles between 2010 and the present. I also added that this is only for post-secondary institutions. I did not include anything from the K-12 system. In my search field, I used terms such as online orientation, instructional design framework, instructor presence, student preparedness, etc. These were to help narrow down the types of information that I anticipated needing to answer my question. The method that I used to disseminate the information that I found was based on Torgeson's paper, his 7 stages of systematic literature review. Writing the research proposal, determining the inclusion and exclusion criteria, searching and screening the data, organizing the research, extracting the information, synthesizing the information, and then writing the paper to disseminate the information found. I thoroughly read each piece of information. As I reviewed the material, I highlighted the important individual pieces of data within each bit of information and began to organize them into themes. I categorized each article with a main overarching theme and then identified other themes within. I used an Excel spreadsheet to identify the materials within each theme. There were 5 main themes that emerged: design, best practices, student experience, student retention, and orientation. And there were 3 sub-themes that emerged within this data: universal design, instructor presence, and instructional design frameworks. After reading over 50 articles, this is what I found. Within a category of design, some of the interesting things that I found with my research was that there really hasn't been a lot of new instructional design to come out based on the online format. ADDIE is still the industry standard, and most designers actually seem to stick with that as a basis for their design. What they do is they add different types of frameworks on top of it to create the online courses. There were several frameworks that I found, some listed here. Designers like to use community of inquiry, e-learning engagement design, identity-centered design, high engagement, high quality, different types of frameworks, which I explain in my research, over top of their basic design. This is just to make sure that everything is accessible, that they've used the right technology, that students understand about community and communication, those types of things. It all really depends on the type of course that they're designing and what it is that they different institutions actually want to teach the students. Universal design was very, very important to make sure that things were accessible to all users. Within the delivery section, and how the course would be delivered, I found information on both self-paced and instructor-led options. I found information about orientations that had been included in the curriculum that were standalone, some that were mandatory, some that were optional. There's lots of information, and people have tried many, many different things in order to deliver an effective orientation course. When it came to understanding the content, it really depended on what type of course that they were delivering. If the course was purely about the technology, then mainly the orientation course was just about how to use the technology, like Blackboard or D2L or those kinds of LMS. If the orientation course included information on the schools and things and about being a community learner, then it had many more options for inclusion, like how to communicate with your peers and the instructor, how to be an online student, how to be successful, school resources, and things like that. So based on what I found and what I know from what I've done in my own practice, these are the things that I've decided is what I recommend so far. So it is recommended that a successful orientation course be focused on the technology and personal skills, be designed using universal design, be mandatory, be instructor-led, and delivered before the regular curriculum starts or as the beginning part of the curriculum. It is also recommended that they should include information on the technology being used and how to use each aspect of that technology, how to provide provide a self-assessment of skills before and after so students can understand how far they've come. Include small assignments to demonstrate their skills and promote community building. And if this sounds familiar to you, I think you'll all remember our link and how that course helped us on our journey through MALAT. I personally think that Royal Roads did an excellent job with that course, and I think it could be considered one of the stars in this particular genre of courses. So, what do I think now? Well, I have to say I was surprised about how little research there actually was on orientation type courses and how effective they are. I am happy to see that what has been done has been positive and that they do see some benefit. I was also happy, as I mentioned before, to see how our link course fit right into the recommendations that I found in this study. I believe that a larger study encompassing more post-secondary schools would be really beneficial to understand the impact of these types of courses. I think if I would have chosen to do a thesis instead of a secondary research study, that I would have tried to do something like that. Not sure if it would have been possible. Maybe that's more for the PhD. And finally, I just wanted to thank you for listening and just give you a little bit of advice and some feedback on my Royal Roads experience. I found the process of participating in the MALAT program was wonderful. I have met so many wonderful people. It's extremely fulfilling to me, and I'm so glad that I took the 2 years to do this program. I know that the people that I've met will be lifelong friends and connections. And I've been mentored by some fabulous faculty who've really pushed me through some personal doubts and encouraged me to think outside the box. I know it seems like it's a long road, but hang in there. Best of luck to you. You can do it. Thanks.